Hey there, so today I wanted to do a little bit more of a basic informational how-to kind of nail video. I've done a lot of my artwork and I really haven't done very much on the basics. I am going to show you how I do some of my own nail prep stuff, whatever, just the very basics. So I have this nail design that I have on right now. So I need to take this stuff off and I want to put on something. I'm thinking just something plain. For starters, I'm going to show you the supplies I'm going to need to get this stuff off. So to get this stuff off, I like to use a more coarse file. You just need to break the surface of your gel polish. So I will sand it until it all looks like almost like frosted, matte. So this is what the nail looks like now after I've filed it. But I'm going to file down all of my nails like that. Then once they're all filed, next you're going to take cotton balls. And I like to either break them up with my hands, or you can use a small pair of scissors and cut them into halves or thirds. And then you can either use aluminum foil, or alternatively, I found these clips on Amazon that you clip onto your nail. You would put the cotton inside, either inside this thing and then clip it on, or you hold it on your finger while clipping it on. But it helps hold this cotton that you're going to soak in acetone on your nail. I just need enough to cover the nail, right? So I'm going to take some acetone. I use 100% pure acetone. Saturate that. That's pretty well saturated. Put that on top of the nail and then take my clip and sandwich that all together. So now I'm going to leave that there for at least 10 minutes. And then I'll show you what that looks like. We will need to scrape off gently, but you will need to scrape off the gel. If it's hard to scrape off, then you need to maybe re-wet the acetone and put it back on. Anyway, I'm going to let this thing do its work, and then I will come right back. It has been at least 10 minutes. These guys should be done. I tested out my thumb and everything came off pretty easily. So I'm going to go ahead and try to take the stuff off on the other fingers as well. This is going to look crazy because I'm doing both hands at the same time. Okay, so I have scraper tool dealy here. You could also choose, or alternatively choose, to use a wooden orange stick. Let's go ahead and start with the index finger, because why not? So if there's an edge, we start at the edge and we just start scraping away. I'm not pushing very hard. It's kind of really almost just using the weight of itself, which is not very much. And that's gotten most of this off. I'm going to use the smaller side to see if I can get closer to the cuticle here. Or, I don't know, what do you call that, sidewall? That should be most everything off of that nail. I'll actually take this little piece of cotton out of this little clip. Use the acetone that's on that swab to do a little swipe, and that really helps me look and see what I have, which looks pretty clean. So we are good to go. To the next nail. See how this is already flaking off? Like I haven't even touched that yet. So then you really know it's ready to come off when it's coming off on its own. All right, so we're back. The gel polish is all off the nails. Next step, I want to trim some of this extra tissue. Don't scream at me. I know you're not supposed to cut off like your cuticles, but I feel like I am somebody who just has a lot of cuticle. So we're gonna at least start by pushing the cuticle back. And again, I'm using this metal cuticle pusher. because that is my preference. You can use a plastic one, a rubber one, a wooden one, whatever you want. And something that I'm looking for as I'm doing this here, like, do you see how there's this like skin that's kind of like growing onto the nail? I want to scrape that off the nail. I don't want that attached to the nail. That's going to mess up my manicure. And then once I have scraped back all of that stuff, anything that's like sticking up, like that guy right there, I like to trim it. And I trim it with, I don't think these are officially labeled as cuticle nippers. They're actually other nippers, but I use them for my cuticle. Because that little V-shaped thing that you use to swipe, I just do not trust it. I've actually taken off too much tissue by doing that. And I know that's a risk with these nippers as well, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Let's move on to this next nail. So now over here, I've got this kind of dry skin. And if I can get it to kind of pop out with my tool without hurting myself, like this doesn't hurt to do this. If this hurts, if you're doing this, stop. I'm going to take my little cuticle nipper and cut that little bit off. So that is how I do all of that cuticle work. I'm going to go ahead and do my other hand. I'm not going to bore you with that. And then we'll come back for shaping. All right, so we are back. I've got the cuticle work all done. And I am going to probably exfoliate some of these side areas a little bit more with my file. That looks really rough when it's close up like that, but that's the rough side. This is the less rough side. I'm going to probably exfoliate a little bit some of these side areas with that file because I don't want to cut off too much skin, but I feel like I tend to develop calluses, or I don't even call it a callus, but thickened skin pretty easily on my fingers, maybe because I just use my hands a lot for my hobbies and for my profession. If you don't have scaly looking skin, then you don't need to do that step. Let me bring it back out. Let's do the next step of shaping a little bit. My nails right now are they're kind of a lot of shapes right now, but two shapes that I want to try and demonstrate for you would be my more square tipped, like soft squares tipped shape, and then this finger's already kind of rounded shape, so I can kind of show you that as well. So I'm going to do my best. Taking my file, if you have a lot of extra length, you can take a either nippers like these, or if you have nail clippers, you can normally what I'll do is I'll just start by clipping straight across for the square. Actually, for both looks, I would start by clipping straight across just to establish basically my length. So then I will do kind of just going straight across. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'll round it to the sides. This is the more soft square look that I'm doing here. And I will do a little bit of filing on the side as well. Just a little bit. Because I tend to have like ducky shaped nails. So I feel like that helps. Okay, so we'll try again on this ring finger. We've already got kind of our length established. We're going to just go across, back and forth. And I know professionals would say, no, you should just do one direction. I do not have the patience to do this 5,000 times, so I just go back and forth. If you have very soft nails, very fragile nails, you may choose to just do one direction. So back and forth, and then just round off to the side like that, round off to the other side like that. And that's the shape we have. As I'm doing my nails, I may look at the nail and decide, you know what, that looks a little crooked, or I want to work on that corner a little more. And that's totally fine, especially when you're first learning to do the shapes of your nails. Sometimes it's harder to, you know, if the, what do you call it, the smile line on your nail is a little crooked naturally, it'll throw off your ability to be able to shape the nail sometimes. So okay. So I feel like this corner still looks a little out there, so I'll work on that a little more. I think that looks pretty okay. And then I have kind of like that weird crusty skin there. I'm going to take my file and just put it on top of that crusty skin and file it a little bit. And look how much more improved that is. You don't want to file all of your skin off. Some of that will be corrected with cuticle oils, but that helps take off some of that rough skin too. All right, now that was 3 examples of kind of the rounded square. This one is already kind of shaped round, so I will kind of continue to exaggerate that if I can. I'm going to start on the side wall. I think that's what you call it over here. And I'm going to start filing that down. I'm going to kind of drag it to the center to create our rounded side. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Again, we're taking the file on the edge of the nail and kind of straightening out that edge on the side, filing that side to kind of straighten that out, and then we're just curving. So we have the rounded shape. I don't know if you can, so it's kind of the rounded, more natural nail shape. And if you were to just more aggressively file on the side, you could shape that up into an almond shape even. And don't have any nails long enough to show you the almond shape. Maybe I'll do that in another video, but that's how we shape those. I know this guy's an oddball now because this one's round and the rest of these are kind of the soft square shape. Thumb is also a soft square shape. So let's finish off with the thumb, shall we? So we're doing just going across, or you can go back and forth. And round off that side a little bit, round off this side a little bit. And so there we go. And then one last thing I'll do to prep these nails for the polish besides using rubbing alcohol to wipe off any dust or oils, is I do like to do just a very light with the finer side of my file. I will do a very light scraping with the file. This helps get rid of any smell. It helps to smooth it. It helps get rid of any residual base coat from the previous manicure. And then some say it helps give the gel something to stick onto. I don't feel like it's necessary from that perspective. So there we go. Those guys are all prepped. I'll go ahead and do my other hand off camera. We are all shaped up. We have cuticles are pushed back and trimmed. We are shaped. We are filed. The next step is to clean off any oils or dust. A lot of people may choose to use a regular cotton ball with acetone or rubbing alcohol. I would not recommend using a cotton ball at this point, only because any little lint that you get stuck to your fingernail is going to show up on your gel polish, or potentially your nail polish if you're doing regular nail polish for that matter. So I would recommend a lint-free wipe, or if you don't want to invest in a lint-free wipe, you can just have like a high-quality toilet paper or paper towel will do the job. And I put my rubbing alcohol in a little spray bottle for ease of use. So I flip my nails over and I just spray and take one of these little wipes and just clean them. This dehydrates them a little bit and gets that dust and oil off. Make sure you have a UV light if you're going to be doing gel polish, because it will not cure if you don't have some kind of UV light. It shows, for me, blue light when it's on. So I'll have that over to the side. I won't be able to show you curing my nails, I don't think. But anyway, so we have that. We are going to want a base coat and a top coat. I like the no wipe top coats because it's nice to not have to wipe off the sticky layer for gel polish. Regular polish, you'll also want a base coat and a top coat. Also, you will want your either nail polish or gel polish of color of choice. So let's start with our base coat. I feel like nail polish is fairly self-explanatory. You paint it on and it dries. So I won't explain regular polish too much at this point. Gel polish, you apply similarly in that we're wanting to coat the whole nail, right? I'll get a little bit on my brush. I'll start a little bit shy of the cuticle and push in and then stroke out. Regular polish, you need to work fairly quickly because you have a limited dry time. Gel will not dry until you cure it. So we're putting our base on, start kind of in the middle, and then push the product towards the cuticle. I push the product towards the cuticle versus just starting right at the cuticle to try and help avoid something they call flooding the cuticle. I'm not great at it. If you pay attention to my all my manicures, I definitely have flooding in some of those photos. But we try. We do the best we can. And then the other thing that we do is I like to tap the edge of the nail with the brush to quote-unquote cap the nail. Now I do these 4 fingers first. I do the thumb as its own separate thing because gel has a tendency to run when your fingers are not level. So if I have my thumb sideways, like it is just naturally at rest, the gel is going to flow all to this side of the nail, and I don't want that. So we're going to cure these 4 first, or at least do a flash cure, which kind of helps hold the gel where it needs to be, and then we can work on this thumbnail. So we'll do a flash cure for 10 seconds, and we'll go ahead and put a base on my thumbnail now. I hope you can see. Another thing with gel polish is you want to actually work in thin layers, because thicker layers, especially of non-clear, what do you call it, of non-clear coats, so your non-base coat, your non-top coat, the color coat, basically, if you put a thick coat of color, it will not cure all the way through. Kind of similar to regular nail polish. If you put a really thick layer of nail polish, it will eventually dry, but it will take forever. So better to work in more thin coats than one thick coat. Now we have all of our base coat on. There is a sticky layer on this, so, and you can leave it. You don't need to clean that off, but just be mindful. If you turn your hand over and brush it on, say, like this towel that I have down here, you're going to get lint stuck to yourself. So just be very careful of that. So I'm going to start with my color over here. I'm going to apply it in much the same way that I applied the base coat. Push it towards the cuticle, drag it to the tip, and cap it. If you have a little bit that gets on your skin, take a tool, scrape it off before you cure it. When you're working with gel, also make sure to cap everything before curing, turning on your curing lamp. As long as the gel is out of direct line of sight, so to speak, of that lamp, it should be okay, but it's just a good habit to have. Because you don't want to accidentally cure the products that are in your bottles. You also don't really want to do this kind of nail work next to a sunny window. I have had where the curtain is open and the sun is shining in and I'm doing my nails, and the product started curing. And I'm like, why is my clear coat getting so gloopy? Because the UV rays from the sun was curing it. So that bottle, thankfully that bottle was kind of old and almost done anyway, but I had to basically throw that bottle away. All right, so we have our, just doing a sweep just to check. Okay, so we have all of our color, one coat of our color down on the 4 primary nails. Gonna go ahead and flash cure that for 10 seconds. All right, that's flash cured. We can do our thumbnail now. And we got a little bit on my finger because I have short little nails. And there we go. So let's go cure that. We have our first coat on. We would benefit from one more coat and then we'll top coat. So let's continue the same process. Again, there is a sticky layer on this cured color. You do not need to wipe that off. You can leave it. Just make sure not to get any fuzzies stuck in it if you can help it. If you do get a fuzzy stuck in there, you can try to either scrape the fuzzy off, or what I find to be easier and just more effective, more complete, is to just take one of those lint-free wipes with some rubbing alcohol and wipe the whole nail to take the sticky layer off along with any fuzzies. So this is about how much polish I have on here for my middle finger. I don't know if that helps you to know how much polish. And even this is probably a little bit too much. All right, so the last step is to top coat this. Okay, so again, we have a sticky layer. Make sure not to touch anything to get anything in that sticky layer. We're gonna go ahead and put on our top coat. And you may notice I tend to start with this ring finger. It's because it's hard to get a tiny, tiny amount for my pinky nail on the brush. So I'll dab it on the ring finger. Then I can do my pinky. And then I can go over to my ring finger. And again, all the same process to get all these layers on. All right, and then a little pro tip for you for this last layer. If you have any trouble, if you feel like your any of the layers, but in particular the top coat, if it's pooling, starting to collect more on the sides of your nail, you can turn your hand over and count for like 10 seconds. And that'll help pull, you know, just by gravity, pull the clear coat back towards the center of your nail. And then you can go ahead and cure it. So we're going to do that for 10 seconds and then we can do the thumb. Oh gosh, that's way too much. Melina, that was rude. Okay, we're gonna flash cure that and then cure the whole thing. All right, so these are all done. Because I use the no wipe top coat, these have no sticky layer on them. They are good to go. If you have a more classic top coat, you may have to wipe off the sticky layer with rubbing alcohol or a gel wipe off solution. But yeah, that is everything for this manicure. You want to finish with a cuticle oil and or maybe a lotion. But yeah, that's the finished, basically the finished look. I'll insert some photos at the very end of this video. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something and or were entertained. Please give this video a thumbs up, share, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know. Did you pick up anything new from this video? Is there something different that you do? I know I'm not a professional, so some of these things that I'm doing are not what a professional would recommend. But I'm just curious, what are all y'all methods, tips, etc. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you at the next video. Bye!